Back with another draft profile video, and today we're here to stay on the defensive side of the ball with cornerback Colton Hood from Tennessee. See what we're doing here? Loved watching what this player brings to the table. He's a young player that doesn't have a ton of snaps, and I think a lot of teams are going to actually like that element about him as he gets into the NFL for where he can potentially get to with his skill set that's already really strong in a lot of different areas. The versatility that he brings, some of the toughness that he showcases, and his feel for the game is pretty strong as well. So a lot of things to like here with Colton Hood. Early listings at 5'11", just over 5'11", 192 pounds. Starting off as a freshman with Auburn, played a very little, transferred over to Colorado to join his brother and his cousin with Colorado in 2024, played a bit there, and then played and started in all 12 games this past season with Tennessee. Now, he has already declared for the NFL draft, which makes a ton of sense, and again, he's going to be a player without as much experience as many others in this year's draft, but has an opportunity to go very high because of the upside that he has showcased to this point. We'll start off with his ability as a press coverage corner. I think this is going to translate really well to the NFL. I think this is where teams are going to buy into what he can really bring to the table, though I think he does a lot of the things well. I think he's a great press cornerback, and it starts with his ability right at the line of scrimmage. He utilized really a false step at the line. He's very patient to allow receivers to get into their stem. He's got a long two-handed jam at the line of scrimmage. He typically redirects and reroutes routes immediately off the line of scrimmage, and he's very consistent in doing that. He's got a lot of range to squeeze early route development while also creating depth to not get stacked immediately. It will happen, but typically he can carry a lot of depth laterally while also being physical and redirecting immediately off the line. He's got great burst out of his press transition. He's very sudden. There's not a lot of false movement to him either. You'll see him with speed releases. He reacts very quickly to those. You'll see him against single steps. He's incredibly patient. It's going to take aggressive footwork off the line of scrimmage to get him out of his spot and to get his hip declaration in the wrong position. That's where he starts to show you some of that recovery athleticism that he does have when he does set his hips incorrectly. But again, laterally gets out without false movement, good flexion. He gets a little bit top heavy, which I tend to think is the biggest issue here, where he gets caught and he has to recover in some of those vertical releases when playing in a press alignment. It tends to fall behind, and because he's a little bit tall in some of those transitions downfield, smaller receivers can kind of sink underneath his pads. They can create separation at the top of the route, especially because he's typically looking for contact to control the route very early, and if he doesn't get that, you see a little bit more issues where there's space created. He plays really well in phase. Out of phase, I think there's a lot of work that needs to be had here just to kind of really calm him down and add more patience to it. Projects, though, the vertical route stem direction really well through the release. He gets positioned very early, aggressively set and overset his hips where he can't get himself back into the play, even if he missteps early on. He's got easy flipping hips at the line of scrimmage. There's great flexion there. His hips are very quick to correct himself when he does get in the wrong spot. So I think his press upside is fantastic. I think his patience now is really good. His length plays into this well. He's also got a pretty sturdy frame at the point of attack where his contact balance is on display. A lot to like about what he can be as a press cornerback, especially when he can get in phase and control routes early. Now, in zone coverage, there's a lot of things that I like here as well. I think there's more knocks. First off, being good half-turn eye balance. You think about some of those cover three spots, his ability to redirect. I think he's got great plant and drive transition from those half-turn reads. All right, he's kind of got a galloping half-turn, which can give some problems, give up too much space. But when he does plant and drive, it's very sudden to work downhill. He uses his length incredibly well. And I think what he does so well is his angles. And off-man, in zone, in press coverage, the way that he squeezes routes, he takes fantastic angles to the ball. And I think it shows up a lot in a lot of his zone coverage responsibilities, working through the quarterback's eyes. And he gets himself in a half-turn bail acceleration immediately. It's instant. It's sudden. When he needs to get back over top, he can do that. He can cover up, two verts in a cover three alignment because of his ability to immediately get out and create depth. He's very reactive as well to run plays, to step down and give support. And I think the biggest thing is here, he's just very technically sound for a guy that hasn't played a lot in terms of his hip movements, the way that he flips his flips, the way that he rotates himself, the way that he sets his angles to adjust to his different assignments. And when guys kind of step into his zones and he can squeeze guys to the sideline, I think he does that really well. He flips his hips and adjusts laterally under zone very consistently. He overlaps cover two routes where he's typically squeezing them into the next zone, and he does kind of redirect those. He doesn't let guys just run by him, though I think this is where you tend to get some of the eye balance issues. Number two receivers and underneath coverage will pull him out of his zone, or they'll limit his actual ability to kind of disrupt and be a disruptor and slow timing, where he feels there's a little bit tunnel vision in zone. I think that's the biggest element that you get here as an issue. Number one receiver picking up the new number one receiver. He doesn't do that typically, and that allows him to just get peeled out of plays, right? You can set up a post wheel route against him on a cover 3 side because he doesn't tend to see the entire picture. And I think the same thing in underzone. He's reading the number 2. He kind of just disregards the number 1 totally, it feels like. And because of that, you don't feel like there's actually an impact that he's giving there to see everything. I think he feels a little bit tunnel vision, which limits his zone more so than anything. High balance will get a little bit aggressive depending on a coverage assignment to read the quarterback and kind of lose track of where the receiver is. Though I do like his discipline when he's in the red zone. In goal line situations, there's a lot of discipline. He finds, he sorts out routes. He's patient in those spots. I think he does tend to play really well in those positions. He is working cover 3. I think he's got good closing acceleration to kind of work through the seam and work through the number 2 receiver, but it's not great. I just think his angles really support the play speed, and we saw that against Kentucky. His contact balance is going to serve him really well in zone coverage because he takes on oncoming routes really well, like some quarters assignments defensively as well. He's just, again, a little bit too slow to drop off routes, gets a little bit tunnel vision. He also tends to play his assignment to a spot where he loses leverage, where he can actually give support in zone coverage. I think there's just a better feel that needs to be had there, and maybe more experience can get him that spot. And off, man, this is probably the area I don't love him the most because I think zone has a lot of upside with the way that he plays it and with the way that he can set himself. I don't love him in off, man, as of now, though I do think he keeps a balanced base width. He never tends to get out from underneath himself. You'll see this in press as well, and it allows him to recover from awkward positioning, which is great. And he can gather quickly from off-man coverage. He does tend to read route tempo well. I think slower releases off the line, he doesn't bail and get depth. He tends to stay top down so he can drive on the football. And with a lot quicker releases, guys that are trying to eat up ground quickly, he'll get out pretty fast and try to disallow the vertical shot over top. So I think that he does well, making sure that he stays on top or that he can plant and drive very quickly. I do, however, just think that he really gets a lot more impatient here because he's not in phase immediately, and that's where his hips tend to give him some problems, right? He'll put himself in some awkward positions. He recovers well. You see the athleticism, but he puts himself in spots that just aren't great when he's not playing in phase consistently. But he is very adaptable to the pace. His twitch here just feels more adequate. He doesn't feel elite when he's driving and breaking on the football. His stopping power also doesn't feel outstanding either. He's got good long speed, and with his angles and with his proactiveness to get out and run, he tends to kind of deal well with like over routes and crossers. He's in a pretty good spot adequately. It's fine. So for me, I don't love him in that area, but I think he's capable of doing all of those things. I just like him as a press and his upside there. It's the same thing with zone as well, to be honest. One of the biggest knocks that I have is ball skills. He doesn't have a ton of ball production. 3 interceptions over the last 2 years. Some of that's just snap counts. 1 interception he had this past year was tipped in the air and picked off. Big challenge here is going to be finding the ball while also staying connected to the catch point. It is kind of a red flag at times, especially when you talk about not holding or how does he turn back to find the football. It's hit and miss. Sometimes his technique looks good. Sometimes it looks very questionable. When he stays in phase and he runs in your hips, he's got the vertical speed. He does it really well, right? And he takes away those vertical shots. It looks really clean. Other times when you feel like he falls out of phase and he's trying to get back, that's when you see a little bit hit and miss. He doesn't always feel like he's actually connecting with the receiver. He's just running and looking for the ball. His tracking speed's in a good spot. Just needs more consistency at how he's playing it. He also does a nice job really reading through the receiver's eyes. When is he looking back for the ball? When should I? Just needs to stay in phase more consistently here. And then in run game, this was an area that I didn't love at first. I didn't feel the urgency to shed blocks and receivers downfield. I still think that needs to be cranked up. But you see the length, and I think that handles well for screens and stalk blocks. And when he does get downhill on screens, there is a force that he brings to the table, which is effective, and he can make plays there and play through blocks and make tackles. To me, he's just a little bit too patient for me at times to dive on routes and dive on screens. And when he's off, man, kind of diving through like, okay, here's the sticks, I got to get there, and really crank that urgency, I think is just not there enough right now. He gets a little bit flat-footed near the goal line. I think understanding the situation, that can't happen because it allows him to get sealed out of the play. But his lateral transitions are very fluid. It allows him to adjust to the ball, deal with backside runs. I think there is a good discipline on the backside of plays, and he does work to get back into the play away from the ball, but he doesn't pop up enough, I think, in terms of run defense when he's working in deep zones. But he's a pretty strong ankle wrap-up tackler, pretty strong, plus grip as a tackler, and he also goes for the football, which tends to slow guys down, and he is capable of forcing the ball out of your hands as well, and this is what also helps him in terms of ball skills at the catch point, is he does attack the football post-catch specifically, but he's not much of a striker to me as much as he kind of gets caught just kind of waiting on the ball carrier, which is fine for efficiency, but he doesn't get as many of those like wow moments or man, he's halting this play immediately. Will give up some leakage because of that. Throwing his shoulder in traffic, I think, is a little bit of a knock as well. Instead of being as clean with his technique as he is in space, he kind of just throws his shoulder and it doesn't give him much. Becomes a bit of a grabber as a tackler as well. I think his run support's fine, but I wish it was even better to this point. To me, he's a young, press cornerback that has capabilities to do a lot more of that with his versatility if he can grow with consistency and really just more snaps. But you can see by the grades, I like a lot of things. I don't think he's elite in some of those critical factors, which is going to be the biggest limiting selling point for him. I don't think his reactive athleticism is elite. I think it's above average, well above average, maybe even higher than what I gave him here. His play speed's in a really good spot as well. That's going to improve. That has room to improve. And his ball skills to me are slightly below above average, if that makes sense. But as a press corner, I think he's great. Off-man, I think is good. Zone coverage, I think he has a lot of upside. I think he's very good there. Slot coverage surprised me. He's capable because he's so patient. I think he's very capable. His transition's nice. He closes well. He's a smart player, mentally tough. I think he responds well. He'll get picked on a bit. He got picked on a bit in college, and I think that's good for him. He wasn't a guy that never got attacked. He got attacked by good receivers, and he had to keep battle back, and I felt like he did. His open field tackling ability is in a good spot. He plays the game with some good strength. It could be better. His run support, I think, is the biggest area where I don't see an improvement. I don't feel like he'd be elite at special teams early on, but I think he's got the skill set to be a capable and adequate special teamer. So for me, I like the player a lot. I think teams are going to be maybe across the board on this guy because I think some teams are going to love what you could potentially turn this into. I kind of get that vibe. I love what Colton Hood is capable of versus what he is now. He has a 6.13 grade for me, but that feels low. I want to bump it to like a 6.2 plus. I think he may continue to grow for me as time goes on because I really do think that the upside is outstanding here. I love the way the guy plays the game with so limited experience. Number 20 ranked high school prospect coming out, just hasn't gotten a lot of snaps to this point. I think the upside's tremendous here. I like Colton Hood a lot, but he feels like he could be a day 2 pick as of now. That's kind of the vibe I get. This definitely could be a round 2 pick. Maybe the youth will allow him to push higher than that. That has happened. It does happen, especially for a wide corner with versatility like he has. But he feels more like a day 2 pick right now to me based on that skill set. But at the same time, I really like how he plays. And if he got into day 1, I don't think there'd be a problem with it. That's Colton Hood. Let me know your thoughts, comments below. Thank you for watching, and I'm out.